I barely stopped myself from rolling my third eye as junior analyst Plex burst into my office, waving a datapad as if it contained the meaning of life. I had been about to savor my perfectly heated cup of Zillabian juice, and now this. Let me guess, I sighed, setting my cup down with deliberate slowness. The humans have once again done something that defies every fundamental law of physics. Plex, trembling with excitement, shook his head. It's different this time, sir. Look at these energy readings from Earth. I humored him, glancing at the datapad. Humans were always doing something absurd. Just last month, they developed food spicy enough to melt through our standard containment units. Before that, they weaponized something they called dad jokes into an actual sonic deterrent. But as I scanned the readings, my antennae stiffened involuntarily. These energy signatures, they were nothing like I'd encountered in 300 cycles of observing Earth. Massive energy spikes were appearing and disappearing with no radiation, no heat, no quantum residue, just pure, clean energy blips. Cosmic hiccups, for lack of a better term. When did this start? I asked, unable to hide my growing concern. 47 Earth hours ago, Sir Plex replied. It began in their North American continent and spread fast. I pulled up the global monitoring display. Sure enough, energy signatures were now dancing across every continent like a deranged light show. My Zillabian juice was definitely cold now, but for once, I didn't care. Have you cross-referenced this with their public networks? I asked. Plex nodded, tendrils vibrating. Yes, sir. And they're not hiding it. They're celebrating it. They're calling it quantum skipping. I blinked. Quantum skipping? That's impossible. So we thought, Sir Plex said, handing me the datapad. I stared at the data again. Massive matter energy displacements, instantaneous transportation. No detectable environmental disruption. It shouldn't be possible. And yet, the humans were doing it. Worse. They were using it for the most trivial purposes. They've revolutionized physics, and they're treating it like a commuter service. I muttered. Plex hesitated. Well, sir, yes, they're using it to avoid traffic and grab coffee. I closed my eyes and pinched the bridge of my nose, as if that could stop the oncoming headache. Get me a direct line to the Galactic Council. And Plex? Yes, Admiral? Bring me a fresh Zillabian juice. Something tells me I'll need it. Within hours, the Council's top scientists had arrived. Professor Lax, normally composed, was a frazzled mess, her tentacles in disarray. This breaks at least 19 fundamental laws of physics, she muttered, scrolling through the data. No, wait, 21. Behind her, Dr. Nayanex was having a full-blown existential crisis. Where's the energy going? Where's it coming from? Why isn't there quantum backwash? There's always quantum backwash. Focus, I said sharply. What do we know? Professor Lax let out a hysterical laugh. What we know is that humans are teleporting themselves and now vehicles across vast distances instantly. With no transmission medium, no energy loss. No anything. Another energy spike blinked across the screen, confirming her words. A bus-sized object had just materialized halfway across the planet. This is chaos, someone muttered. No, I said grimly. This is humanity. Hours later, I was observing a park in New York City, disguised behind what humans called a hot dog stand. It was the perfect vantage point to witness quantum skipping in action. Human approaching Lieutenant Yex whispered through the comm. Female using one of their devices. The human strolled casually, tapping at her screen. Without fanfare, she vanished. No flash, no sound, no distortion. She was simply gone. Seconds later, another human materialized. Male, business suit, coffee in hand. He muttered something about great signal today and walked away, oblivious to the universe-breaking implications of what he'd just done. They're texting while skipping, Professor Lax whispered in horror over the comm. Texting. Before I could respond, humans began popping in and out of existence all around us. Some disappeared mid-stride, others arrived in groups, laughing about split fares and group discounts. A child demonstrated the app to another, saying, "See, easy peasy," before they both vanished in a burst of giggles. Professor Lax lost it. Easy peasy. She shrieked, her camouflage failing momentarily. A nearby human glanced at her, shrugged, and returned to their device. Apparently, a six-tentacled alien was less interesting than whatever they were watching. Back on the ship, The Galactic Council's emergency session devolved into chaos. Representatives from countless species demanded explanations. The humans must be stopped. One shouted, "Stopped from what?" I countered. "Getting coffee?" Chancellor Vex's ceremonial headdress sagged. "Admiral, what's the military application of this technology?" "With respect, sir, they're not using it for war. Their biggest concerns are coffee, traffic, and Pokemon Go." The chamber fell into stunned silence. Later, junior analyst Plex burst into my office again, barely containing his laughter. "What now?" I groaned. "Have they started quantum skipping their pets?" "Well, yes," Plex admitted, "but that's not it. We've discovered how they invented quantum skipping." Professor Lax, still recovering from earlier, perked up. "How?" Plex grinned. "It was an accident. A child spilled a juice box on a quantum computer running a game of Pong." The professor stared, her newest calming crystal cracking. "A juice box?" "Yes," Plex confirmed. "They didn't calculate quantum variables or account for subatomic interactions. They just winged it." "Winged it?" Professor Lax howled. "There are rules, laws, equations." Apparently nobody told the humans that, Plex replied cheerfully. By the end of the week, humans had introduced quantum skipping as a mobile app, offered beta access to the galaxy, and were already working on skip filters for augmented reality. As I sat in my office, watching reports flood in, I sighed. "Plex, skip me to a human bar," I said, putting down my Zillabian juice. "I think it's time to experience something else humans invented." "What's that, sir?" "Happy hour." The humans were chaos incarnate. That much I knew. But their latest creation, quantum skipping, was pushing the limits of what even the Galactic Council could comprehend. Over the next few cycles, as I monitored the situation, it became clear that the humans weren't just ignoring universal constants, they were actively redefining them. The Galactic Council's new crisis, the Council met again, this time with every seat filled. Chancellor Vex looked like he hadn't slept in weeks, if Xenians even did that, and his headdress now hung limply around his neck. Representatives of every major species filled the chamber, each more flustered than the last. The mechanoids were flashing colors in rapid sequences that signaled mild panic. The Xenians had plastered themselves to the ceiling again, and the vapor beings were actively condensing from stress. Only the humans seemed unaffected, or rather, blissfully unaware. "Our species has devoted millennia to quantum research," Professor Lax began, her tone tinged with despair. "We've published countless papers, made precise calculations, and established safety protocols. Yet the humans bypassed all of it with," she hesitated, clutching her newest calming crystal, a juice spill. Tom Baker, the CEO of Skipcorp, was lounging in a council seat, sipping on what he called an extra-large soda. He shrugged. "Yeah, it was a happy accident. We figured, why overcomplicate things? Turns out quantum mechanics doesn't care if you understand it or not." The room erupted. "Blasphemy," shouted the Centurions, their anti-gravity pods spinning. "Utter madness," cried the Xenians from above. Chancellor Vex banged his staff for silence. "Mr. Baker, are you saying your technology violates every known law of physics because you didn't bother following them?" "Basically, yeah," Tom said, as if discussing the weather. "We just grabbed the quantum stuff and—" "What's the term?" "Yeeted it." "Yeeted?" Chancellor Vex asked, visibly confused. "It means to throw something without caring where it lands," I explained dryly. "Apparently it's the core principle of their quantum skipping technology." Tom raised his cup in acknowledgement. "Exactly. Science doesn't have to be complicated, you know. Quantum skipping as a lifestyle, the humans didn't stop at commodifying quantum skipping. They embraced it. Within days, their global networks were abuzz with new applications. Food delivery services now promised quantum fresh meals that arrived before you even placed the order. Dating apps added features like instant meetups and skip-compatible couples. Fitness enthusiasts bragged about skipping between mountain peaks as part of their workouts. Even their pets were getting in on it, with Skiprime offering teleportation for dogs, cats, and a creature called a ferret. Plex updated me on the latest developments over a very strong cup of Zillabian juice. "They've started using quantum skipping for weddings, sir. Imagine it, destination ceremonies on the other side of the planet, with no travel time. They're hosting weddings with technology that could destabilize the fabric of space-time. I asked, incredulous. Worse, Sir Plex said, smirking. They're skipping in real time to avoid paying venue rental fees. Galactic rollout Skipverse to the Council's horror, and the Humans' Delight Skip Corp announced the release of Skipverse, the interstellar expansion of their quantum skipping app. They offered every species access to the technology, complete with tutorials, user reviews, and custom sound effects. Imagine the possibilities, Tom exclaimed during the grand unveiling. Cross-species tourism, galactic pizza delivery, interstellar dating. Skipverse will change the way we connect with the universe. What safeguards do you have in place to prevent disasters? Professor Lax demanded, visibly trembling. Tom beamed. We've got a robust moderation system. If users do something unsafe, the app flags them. 3 strikes, and their accounts suspended. The room erupted again. The crystalline started vibrating at a frequency that shattered the Chancellor's ceremonial glass. Your entire safety protocol is 3 strikes. Dr. Nayanek sputtered. Well, Tom said thoughtfully, there's also a warning message if something bad don't. Pretty foolproof. Professor Lax fainted. Quantum chaos, the meme revolution, humans being humans, the existence of Skipverse rapidly became a cultural phenomenon. Galactic social media was flooded with memes, parody videos, and something called quantum TikToks. One particularly viral video featured a human skipping into a Xenian diplomatic chamber uninvited, leaving behind a note that simply read, "My bad, LOL." Another showed a pet dog skipping repeatedly between its owner and a bowl of snacks. More concerning was the rise of quantum pranks, where humans skipped random objects like inflatable flamingos onto other planets. One Xenian colony woke up to find their entire water reservoir replaced with something called jelly. A glimpse of the future. Despite the chaos, I couldn't help but marvel at the humans. They weren't bound by the limitations we'd set for ourselves. Where we saw barriers, they saw opportunities. Where we feared the unknown, they dove in headfirst. Sir Plex said one morning, "The humans have announced their next project. Do I want to know?" I asked warily. "They're calling it quantum theme parks. Ride attractions across the galaxy from the comfort of your home." I rubbed my temples. "And the safety measures?" "Same as always, sir, if something bad don't." The final lesson, as I prepared my next report to the Council, I realized humanity had taught us something profound. While we had spent eons perfecting our understanding of the universe, they had achieved the impossible simply by refusing to overthink it. Perhaps, I thought, sipping my Zillabian juice, it wasn't humanity that needed guidance from the galaxy. Maybe, just maybe, it was the other way around. "Plex," I said, setting my cup down, "skip me to Earth. I think I need to try one of these quantum theme parks." "Yes," Sir Plex said, grinning. "And maybe we'll grab one of those margaritas too." As the quantum field enveloped me, I braced for what lay ahead. With humans, the future wasn't just unpredictable, it was gloriously chaotic. And I wouldn't have it any other way.